There is a Greek proverb: a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. What are the greatest examples of this in human history? Joseph Bazalgette was a Victorian engineer who masterminded London's modern sewer system in the 1860s. He foresaw the insane population growth, and when all the calculations were made on how big to bore the pipes underground, he essentially said, "Now let's double it." Now, infrastructure that would have been unable to cope in the 1960s is still in use today. Norway's sovereign wealth fund. That generation could have taken a selfish view and just taken the cash, or politicians just gone on a vote-buying spree. But it's independently invested and managed for the benefit of future generations. The old Japanese people who volunteered to clean up nuclear waste sites from the World War II bombings. They knew that they likely wouldn't live long enough to suffer the worst of the effects of radiation, so they did it to protect younger people from experiencing it and to clean up Japan for future generations. It's really heartwarming. During the Napoleonic Wars, there was a Royal Navy admiral who, when on leave, used to wander his country estate planting oak trees to provide timber for the Navy. It's estimated they are about ready now. The Cassini family map, a first-of-its-kind map of France. It took 4 generations of family members and 6 decades to complete. Imagine being that second family member. Your whole life your father works on this map, only for you to work your whole life on it while raising your son to do the same, and it takes a whole nother life for it to be completed. The giant cathedrals in Europe like Notre Dame would take over 100 years to build. So the person who started building it would work their whole life on it and know they wouldn't be alive to see it complete. Roosevelt and national parks. If he never did what he did, there wouldn't be any today. Corporate greed would have wiped it all out. In a very literal sense, the landscape gardens of Capability Brown. He carefully crafted these gardens, directing the planting of trees and bushes to create a beautiful vista, where it would take decades for the plants to actually grow to fulfill his vision. William Wilberforce. He campaigned in the British government for over 40 years to stop and prevent slavery. He was successful in abolishing the trading of slaves throughout the empire with the Slave Trade Act of 1807 and then the ownership of slaves altogether with the Slavery Abolition Act 1833. He died 3 days after hearing the Abolition Act passed in Parliament, after a lifetime of campaigning for it. He is buried in Westminster Abbey, which is reserved for monarchs and national figures of significance. His campaign for abolition was the blueprint that other abolitionists like Lincoln soon followed up with. There are many generations living because of this man's choices. Edit. And if his good karma wasn't already high enough, he was also a founding member of the Royal Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, RSPCA. The Civil Rights Movement. MLK knew he wouldn't be alive to see integration. Public infrastructure. People got to live to see the opening of one rail line or bridge, or several, but the integrated network of public infrastructure, that took 100 years to grow and is still growing. Susan B. Anthony spent her entire life trying to get women the vote. She was fined for attempting to vote, and spent years organizing people to fight for the cause. She died in 1906, a decade before the 19th Amendment was ratified. The Voyager spacecraft. One of them is the only object that's left the solar system. They're still sending back data. And they're each carrying a gold record encoded with information, our planet's greeting card to the cosmos. It's hard to overstate how much that project changed humanity's knowledge of the solar system. The Voyager probes were crucial to discovering volcanoes on Jupiter's moon Io, the first volcanic activity confirmed outside of Earth. Before the Voyager mission, Earth-based telescopes thought there were only a handful of rings around Saturn. Voyager found thousands of rings there, found thin ring systems around 2 other outer planets, found dozens of moons, and more other information than one comment can do justice to. NASA is still planning future missions based on information the Voyager spacecraft discovered. If alien life gets discovered on Europa or Titan, you can thank the Voyager engineers and scientists. Most of them could have earned far more money in the private sector. Being part of this effort was their dream job. And they won't see this work through to the end. They can't. Voyager began the planning stages 50 years ago. Human lives just aren't long enough. And they knew it. Edit. There's a fully functional third Voyager craft that was never launched. NASA built it and kept it on Earth for engineers to use in troubleshooting if the 2 Voyager probes in outer space ever ran into unexpected problems. That third Voyager craft spends most of the time on display at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory facility in California, in the Von Karman Auditorium. Every year in the month of June, JPL conducts tours open to the public. For security reasons, they can't let a whole lot of people on site, but the tour itself is free. Applications opened on April 3rd. JPL is usually described as in Pasadena, but it's actually in the smaller nearby city of La Cañada Flintridge. If you can snag a ticket, you'll spend part of the tour face-to-face with that third Voyager craft, and you might also get to see JPL's Moon Rock. https://www.jpl.nasa.gov/events/tours/views. Kotoku Wamura, mayor of village called Fudai in years 1947 to 1987. The largest project of his many years is undoubtedly the 15-meter floodgate thatjon be lowered to shield the village from an incoming tsunami wave. During its construction and in the years after, it was largely regarded as excessive and too expensive, costing approximately $30 million in 2011 money. If you are puzzled why it is most commonly seen calculated for year 2011 in particular, I hurry to remind you. In 2011, eastern coast of Japan was battered by a massive tsunami. Villages and towns all over were destroyed, with many of their inhabitants dead or missing. Fudai was the only village that stood almost completely untouched thanks to the once controversial floodgate, 27 years after its construction, and 14 years after the death of Kotoku Wamura. Corrected the height. I got the numbers and units mixed up when reading up on the floodgate. It's 51 feet, or 15.5 meters, not 51 meters. That's not a Greek proverb. It's the invention of a 20th-century Quaker writer, whose creation was appropriated in the 1990s by politicians in the United States Congress. They added the byline, Greek proverb, to make themselves seem more intelligent. Redditors who have actually won a lifetime supply of something. What was the supply you won and how long did it actually last? My stepdad won a lifetime supply of WD-40 in the 1990s. They sent him 4 16-ounces cans. He died in 2019. My mom still has 2 cans. When I was a kid, I won a lifetime supply of meat from a large butcher shop in my hometown. My dad put my name in one day, and a few weeks later we get a call telling us we won a custom barbecue pit and a monthly supply of meat and supplies for life. We got the pit a few days later, and every month we'd get a foam ice chest of various beef cuts, sausages, and steaks, a couple dozen sodas, a bag of charcoal, lighter fluid, and a bag of whatever veggies they had around or something. We were really poor at the time, so this was exactly something that could help the family out in enormous ways. My dad would have a barbecue every weekend, sometimes several times a week. I remember sometime afterwards realizing that I hadn't felt hunger in days or even weeks, and that was unusual for me. For years we continued to get the monthly supply. There was even one point where the amount of meat and sodas we got doubled. We were having a hard time keeping up, but that's a good problem to have. I remember near the time I was going to high school we got notified that the butcher shop got bought out by a larger national chain, and the parent company just wanted to cut us a check to end ITOL. We gladly accepted. The check was for like $10 or something like that. By that time, my parents had gone to school and got their degrees and got better paying jobs, so the free supply of food was just bonus. Looking back, that win helped us out a lot when we were poor. I can imagine the savings my parents gained from not having to buy as much food, which was scarce as it was. We became happier and a little fatter as well. I won free full-body massages for life, which basically just translates to 2 massages a week. It was really good. I got addicted. I knew everyone who worked there, and I got to experiment with all of them to see which were the best. Ended up fluctuating between 3 different staff towards the end. They would even train new staff on me for free, because I spent so much time over there. Thos training massages never cost me anything either or counted towards my 2 free massage a week limit. When the place closed down, I realized just how expensive massages were. I haven't had one in ages and I miss it so bad. When I was a kid 30 years ago, my dad said he'd won free pizza coupons. I think it was Domino's. Anda had a massive stack of these little business cards, each for a free large pizza. My dad said Wahad to be careful using them, though, so we would only use them occasionally, and I remember my dad sometimes making me order the pizza and answer the door to get the free pizza, even though I was only like 9. Looking back, my dad worked for a commercial printing company and was not exactly an upstanding citizen. I'm pretty sure he didn't win those cards. As a consolation prize for losing on a TV game show, I was given a popcorn popper, a little girl's bicycle, and a lifetime supply of Dinty Moore beef stew. I gave the popcorn popper as a Christmas present and sold the bicycle. When the beef stew arrived, it was 1 case of 12 cans. After trying the first can, I realized that the other 11 would indeed last me a lifetime. This happened in the late 90s. A local bar ran a WET t-shirt contest where the girl who won would win a lifetime of free bar drinks at the bar. They also had cash prizes for second and third place. I don't remember how much, but it was a lot at the time. The result was a packed bar, tons of girls entered, tons of guys spending money. My friend's girlfriend, at the time now his wife, won first place. She was stoked. He was excited. Within a couple of weeks, the building was condemned and tore down a few weeks after being that. Turns out the owners of the bar knew that the building was going to be condemned and just wanted to have one last party. I won a lifetime supply of donuts, up to a dozen per day, at a local bakery, and it lasted 2 years until the original owner died and his SS whole son took over the business. Ryanair, a European budget airline, awarded its millionth passenger free flights for life. After 9 years, they reneged on the deal, so she took them to court. The judge awarded her €60,000 to buy her own flights. Her legal costs were more than 3 times that, but Ryanair had to pay those as well. Given the relatively low cost of Ryanair flights, €60,000 probably buys her at least 6 flights a year for the next 50 years. Deleted. I won a lifetime of free oil changes for my car. It was during a sale the dealership was having where you had to take a photo with your pet and the person who most resembled their pet won. I don't know if I should feel happy or concerned about that one. What they did fail to mention is that it was lifetime oil changes for the vehicle I had and I couldn't transfer it to anyone else. So when my dad took over my car loan, they dropped that little tidbit of info on us. Only really lasted me for about 2 oil changes. When I bought my bicycle, the shop policy was that any new bike purchased included free tune-ups for life. Personally, I thought this was a great business move, because it got me back in the store regularly to redeem my tune-ups, kept my bike running smoothly, which kept me as an active cyclist. Active cyclist equals active customer, and I also would regularly buy parts, service beyond the tune-up when I was there, which I was happy to do since I had a good relationship with the shop through this free tune-up deal. When the shop changed owners, they discontinued the tune-ups, even for people like me who had purchased their bike under these terms. I don't go there anymore. My parents won a lifetime supply of toiletries, soap, toilet tissue, and some other stuff. Once per quarter, you mail in the coupon and they send you another quarter's worth of stuff. It's all institutional grade, like what you'd expect prisoners to use. I won the Cash for Life $1,000 a week lottery about 10 years ago. Every year I send them proof I'm still alive, and they send me a check for $52,000 in the mail. I once won a year's supply of Pepsi from a local radio station. The contest was finding specific serial numbers on a dollar bill and being the first to call into the station. The year's supply was a case. I took my kids to a pizza buffet place when they received a Fee Kids meal coupon for good grades. The cashier mistakenly charged us for the meals. When the manager came out to correct the transaction, I said he could just return the coupon and not worry about it. He gave us an entire stack, about 50, of unused coupons that were attached together like a checkbook. We got free kids meals until they obviously reached the age limit. I bought, not one, a lifetime membership to PureVPN. After just 5 years, they reneged on that and said, no, you only purchased 5 years. I showed them the receipt, and basically got, well, we don't honor that anymore, sorry. Thankfully I bought it through Stack Social, so when I reported that to them they hooked me up with a different lifetime VPN provider instead. Screw paying monthly for something I barely use. I won free groceries for life at my local grocery store in a raffle. They give me a digital $100 gift card once a month, which is wonderful, however it doesn't even cover a week of groceries. It will end when the total given has reached $10,000. I've got about $4,000 left. I won free Arby's for a year. They sent me $420 in gift cards. Back in 1977, when I was 13 years old, I won a contest for a lifetime supply of models from Rayvale. A semi-truck pulled up to our house in Avery quiet suburban neighborhood and proceeded to unload 4 pallets of plastic models in the driveway. There were hundreds of models, probably one of everything they offered in their catalog at the time. I kept about 2 dozen, which kept me busy for a year or so. My father helped by finding a local retail hobby store to buy the rest of them at a very favorable price so we could just get rid of them. He put the money into U.S. savings bonds for me, which I cashed out many years later to use for a down Payment on my first new car. I won a lifetime supply of AA and AAA batteries from a major Canadian tech retailer about 20 years ago. Thing is, batteries last a long time and there really isn't that much that I use batteries for. Hypothetically, I could start a black market battery business by just getting my free batteries and selling them to people in need, but it's just not worth the time. Even getting the batteries isn't worth the time. I have to get them to type in my name in their system, and there's a note by my name indicated that I get free batteries because I won a contest 20 years ago. And then they run and get their manager to look at it, because that looks suspicious. And then the manager looks at it and then asks me questions, and then they finally relent and give me free batteries. I won a year's supply of Pepperidge Farm Milanos when I was in college. My BF and I ate them all in like 3 months. 3 glorious months. 1 free movie rental from Blockbuster every week, and well, ya know. I won a lifetime supply of Oreos. It was actually just 1 pallet full of Oreos. Probably would last a normal person their whole life. It was like 1,000 pounds of Oreos. I gave away so many Oreos. Having a party? I'll bring a bunch of Oreos. Break room needs snacks? Oreos? I ended up donating like 400 pounds of Oreos to a shelter, just to get them out of my garage. Just for kicks, I called to inquire if lifetime meant my lifetime, and that I had finished off the pallet. They said the pallet would last a reasonable person their whole life. So, that was a bummer. But I think that's typically how those things work. Edit. To those saying to sue for more, the full pallet taking up garage space was more of a burden than the benefit of always having Oreos. I don't need it again. Not necessarily one, but I bought a lifetime membership at one of my favorite nightclubs, Concert Venues, early in the pandemic. They released a limited amount as a COVID fundraiser and they went fast and will likely never do something like it again, so it feels a bit like I won. Came with free entry plus 1 coat check and 2 drink tickets at every event at the venue, even sold out ones, for life. Several, edit, a couple years out I've gotten more value than the cost. I'm still on the list for every event, and most of the staff there know me. Partly cause I'm there a lot and also cause I tip well in those drink tickets. I'll often just drop by for random events, artists I'd never heard of, or dip in for a half hour at a sold-out event with a $50 plus door cover just to say hello to some friends. I imagine someday the venue will close up shop and my lifetime membership will close with it. When I was a kid, I won a contest online which included a lifetime supply of Hubba Bubba bubble tape. I don't remember the exact amount, but I think it was about a dozen boxes of gum. They also sent me a small boombox and hockey jersey with the Hubba Bubba logo on it. I got sick of it pretty quickly and it had a shelf life. A friend and I wound up using it all for a school project where we had to make a model of the town from the book The Outsiders. We made the entire model out of gum and it was disgusting. Our jaws got sore from chewing all the gum, so we wound up dipping it in water instead. Our teacher docked US points for creativity. 20 years later and I'm still pretty mad about that. Wow, I was not expecting this to get so many responses. I should clarify that we lost points because it wasn't creative enough. Reading these responses really validates my anger, lol. Stay golden, everyone. My dad won a lifetime supply of cat food, but A, they delivered it all at once, and B, our cats didn't like that flavor, of course. We donated it all to a local animal shelter who were super pleased. I had a friend in college who won a lifetime supply of Gillette razors. They just sent him a crate of Mach 3 razors and refill cartridges, and that was that. It was just a one-time shipment, but it would be hard to get through that many razors in one lifetime. I know someone who won a free Gas for Life contest many years ago. They get a $100 gift card every month. Didn't win a lifetime's worth, but won a year's worth of non-perishable food. Every month we'd get 2 or 3 massive boxes filled with all sorts of non-perishable food. It lasted for about 9 months before something changed behind the scenes with the company. They got back in touch with us a few months after the year was up and told us we still had 3 months credit, so we told them to surprise us. This all happened years ago and we've still got some of it left. Not exactly lifetime, but I once won a €5,000 one-year voucher at a pizza place and it lasted a year. I spent the last €75 on the very last day. My partner won a year's worth of Vans shoes. They sent him 4 by 99% off vouchers. I won a year's worth of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. They gave me a coupon book with 4 coupons per month for 12 months. Lifetime free oil changes when I bought my car. When they sold the dealership, the new owners didn't honor that. My parents did twice in a relatively short period of time. The first was at fair when I was in high school. They advertised it as a lifetime supply of fish cream sandwiches. They ended up giving us 100 boxes all at once. Right there on a warm July day. My mom was only able to collect at the end of the day, so there wasn't even that many people to hand them out to. We got home and had about 60 left after giving away as much as possible and throwing out what didn't fit in our freezer. I played lots of sports, so I ate a lot, and my parents just said I could eat as much as I wanted anytime I wanted. I went through 60 boxes in couple months. That was a good time, but not so good for my weight. The second was when they bought an expensive microwave about a year later and won a 5-year supply of microwave popcorn. Basically the same thing happened. We got huge box with like 200 packages, and I was told to eat as much as I wanted. After living in a house that smelled like popcorn for a few weeks, my parents just threw the rest in the garbage. My mother bought a Toyota Yaris years ago, and the dealership was running a Tires for Life promotion. She gets free tires whenever she needs them, but she has to do all of her maintenance work at the dealership, and the deal won't transfer if she sells the title. The dealership didn't run the promo for long, and she was told recently she's the only participant left from the promotion.